Juror refuses to convict illegal immigrant serial killer.
Mr. Reagan.
This is really a very disturbing case, and I've not seen it in the news really at all. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to cover it. There's a lot of bad stuff in the news, but this is one of those things that somehow flew under the radar because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and I thought you guys would want to hear about it. Now, this guy, his name is Billy Shamirmir. That's his name. He's from Kenya in Africa. He moved to Dallas, Texas, and he overstayed his visa. So he was an illegal alien. Apparently, he married an American to get American citizenship, so he cheated the system, got his green card. But he is, in fact, an illegal alien and probably guilty of immigration fraud as well. But then, after breaking our immigration laws, he went on to murder 24 elderly Americans, mostly women. He stole their jewelry and then he sold it online. And this was apparently the guy's job, like his career. He would murder old ladies and then he would sell their jewelry. He is an absolute monster.
It includes at least 24 murders and 2 attempted murders throughout North Texas, beginning in 2016.
According to police reports, Mary Bartell told them a stranger forced his way in, grabbed a couch pillow, and smothered her until she blacked out. Then he walked out with her jewelry. Just one day earlier and one door over, Mary's next-door neighbor, Ann Conklin, had died. Plano police suddenly started taking a closer look and discovered a pattern of deaths in their Preston Place senior living community. There were 7 within a 6-month period, all with missing jewelry.
The mentality was, well, these are seniors, it's all natural.
Lori Delahunty's mother, Diane, was one of the victims whose death had initially been assumed to be from natural causes.
This guy is sick. He is a serial killer. And this is the kind of thing that, you would have seen in the 80s or 90s on the national news. It would have been everywhere. He killed 24 people. That is a crazy number of people to murder. And this was just within 2 years. So he's killing like at least one person every month for 2 years. But of course, nobody has been reporting on this because he's black. He is an illegal immigrant. And he murdered white people. So, it doesn't fit the narrative. But here's the real horror of this story. This is a clear-cut case. This guy is very obviously guilty, no question. And yet, this guy got a mistrial. And he got a mistrial because one of the jurors refused to convict. Okay, well, we're going to break all of this down in one moment, but first, of course, I have to sell you something. Right now, stocks are at an all-time high. The economy is roaring. Houses are selling and weak interest rates are at 0. And the government just printed $5 trillion. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, consumer confidence has hit a 10-year low, and inflation hit 6.8%, with parts of the U.S. seeing rates as high as 8%. Something is not adding up. So what can you do? You can play it safe. Putting some of your assets into precious metals will keep your money away from the volatility of the markets and will protect you from inflation. Investing in precious metals will let you sleep at night. This month, Noble Gold is giving away a free America the Beautiful solid silver 5-ounce coin with any qualifying plan that you start. So talk to an expert at Noble Gold and they'll run you through your options to keep your money safe. No pressure, no hassling, no call centers, just a chance to speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about. And how refreshing would that be? Start by calling 877-646-5347 or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, I have done several videos on black criminals and black racists lately, and you might think that this is some kind of kick that I'm on, that I've decided to focus on this for some reason. No, not at all. And unfortunately, this is all just stuff that's been popping up in my news feeds lately. And look, I've been warning Americans about this for years now. The media keeps facilitating black aggression against white Americans. They have provoked black Americans. They keep telling them how evil white people are with, the sensational news stories, lies about good Americans like Kyle Rittenhouse, and they provoke people through critical race theory that's taught in schools, taught in universities, taught in corporations, and even in the U.S. military. They are ignoring the serious racism that exists by black Americans against white Americans. They are ignoring crimes by black Americans against white Americans. They refuse to report about any of that stuff, and when they do, they try to minimize the horror of it, or they just try to try to justify it in some way. I mean, this is twisted. This is twisted. Now, in one case, in one of the murders, this guy Billy Shamirmir, he went to Walmart and he stalked his victim, and he found the woman that he would kill, and he followed her back to her home. He broke in and he smothered her with a pillow, and then he stole her jewelry and he stole it online. And that seemed to be his modus operandi. He'd find an elderly Target shopping, he'd follow them home, he'd murder them, he'd steal all their jewelry, and then he'd sell it online.
In 2016, Shamirmir had been caught twice at the Edgemere Senior Living Apartments in Dallas using a fake name and falsely claiming to be an employee. Police now believe by the time he was stopped and charged with trespassing there, he'd already killed 3 women in that complex: Catherine Sinclair, Phyllis Payne, and Phoebe Perry. The next 8 murders he's linked to started the following month at the Tradition Prestonwood Senior Living Facility. Among the victims were Leah Corken, Mary Jo Jennings' mother.
8 victims in 3.5 months. I mean, a majority of them with police reports, missing jewelry.
And Doris Gleason, Shannon Dion's mother.
Do you think someone else should have pieced this together?
I wish they had.
The next murder Shamirmir is accused of occurred more than a year later in 2017 at the Parkview Apartments in Frisco.
The feeling was so horrible.
Cheryl Pangburn discovered her mother, Marilyn Bixler.
Her body was perfectly positioned between the couch and the coffee table.
1 month later, a 93-year-old at the complex reported a well-dressed man posing as a maintenance worker had asked her if she needed work done. When she said no, he knocked her from her walker and tried to muffle her screams and smother her with a pillow. But she survived and would months later pick Shamirmir out of a photo lineup. After that came the string of fatal attacks at Preston Place and occasionally the murder of an elderly woman in her own home. Once police started looking at Shamirmir, though, the pieces began coming together. On March 20th, 2018, the day after the attack on Bartell, officers were staked out at Shamirmir's apartment complex when they say he arrived home and tossed something in a dumpster. Inside, they found a jewelry box belonging to Luthi Harris. In his car, they say were the keys to her Dallas home, where officers later found her. A medical examiner determined that final victim died only about an hour before his arrest.
Now, this story is heartbreaking for several reasons. 1, he should have been deported years ago. And 2, after having been caught and tried for these crimes, he should have been convicted. But this one jury member refused to convict. Here is the reaction of some of the families of the victims.
Well, as was mentioned, we are devastated at the outcome of this trial. We are very thankful to the prosecution for putting together such a strong and compelling case. And we are sickened that we have to come back and hear the same evidence again, the same correct and just evidence and true evidence that Billy Shamirmir has killed so many people. And so we're sick that we have to come back and hear this again.
You know, they presented a really great case, and the one that abstained, that voted, didn't vote yes, they didn't even go back and look at it, had any questions, didn't have anything to go back and anything to ask about the trial, just stayed at no. How do you do that? I mean, you must have some reason for not, for voting the way that you did on this jury. It's a terrible it was a terrible tragedy for all these people up here that have their mothers slain.
It was one jury, 11-1.
Yeah.
Not once did they want to look at it. To me, she had her mind made up at the beginning. She probably had her mind made up before the trial started.
Yes.
I think they need to look into her, see what her. But I'm just saying that she didn't, fair trial, yes, but she needed to be fair with the evidence.
We want this story out there. It really has been snuffed under the rug, and for other people to know where I live, no one knows the story. Mm-hmm. Yes, Dallas, we have all y'all done such a wonderful job, but the whole world needs to know. They need to protect their parents. They need to watch out. I just want everyone to be aware so that they can protect.
Make informed decisions.
And make informed decisions. And, yes.
What were the hopes for the outcome?
Guilty. capital murder plus, life without parole.
Now, we don't know who the juror is that refused to convict this guy, but we do know that it's a woman. And my guess, from what I've heard about her, is that it's some BLM supporter, radical leftist chick. Probably a black chick who wants criminal justice reform and, all the crap that the socialists promote. So this is the thinking of the left. This is their logic. Because black people tend to be convicted of crimes a lot, we've got to let serial killers go. These leftist nut jobs are becoming a real problem in America. I mean, the left really is destroying this country. But it's not just about the coddling of black criminals. This is also about the light hand that we have with illegal immigrants. This is one of the major problems with refusing to deport illegal aliens. If a murderer wants to overstay a visa or even walk across the border, they know that they will never be deported. Now, any vicious criminal who knows this, they're going to recognize that, oh, this is a great place to go murder people. This is a great place to go steal things. This is a great place to go commit whatever crimes it is I want to commit because I'm not going to be deported. Leftists are incentivizing criminals to come to the U.S. And another thing that leftists don't understand is that not all cultures hold the same values as Americans. Not all cultures find racism reprehensible. Not all cultures hold human life as sacred. Not all cultures believe that violence and theft are wrong. Now, I've argued for a long time now that cultures that are similar to American culture, they need to be given priority for immigration. Leftists have fought against this for decades by calling such preference racist. But that is absurd. I want to prioritize immigrants that have the least propensity to steal and murder. If those immigrants happen to come from European nations, that doesn't make that priority racist. However, rejecting such a policy because the least violent immigrants are white, well, that is racist. Now, if it were up to me, I'd round up every illegal alien and I would deport them back to their home country. I'd set the immigration system up to prioritize Germans and Swedes and Dutchmen and the Swiss and the Irish and the Danes and the Norwegians and the Brits and the Poles and even the Russians and other Eastern Europeans. Claims of racism be damned. This prioritizing non-white immigrants in the name of diversity, this needs to end. Multiculturalism is not a virtue, and sometimes this serial killer is the result. Well, that's it for me. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they hate white people. Good night.
I am eternally optimistic, and I happen to believe that we've made great progress from the days when I was young and when this country didn't even know it had a racial problem. I know those things can grow out of despair in an inner city, when there's hopelessness at home, lack of work and so forth.